Our featured BBB Wise Giving Alliance accredited charity seal holders for this episode are Mercy Home for Boys and Girls, Learning Ally, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. To find out more about these and other BBB Wise Giving Alliance accredited charity seal holders, go to give.org.
You're listening to the Heart of Giving podcast with Art Taylor, powered by bbbgive.org. Here we explore the motivations that form the basis of giving and service. We inspire generosity and celebrate the transformative effects that giving and service have on the human spirit and on community. The conversations featured on the podcast also uncover giving strategies that educate and provide tools to help listeners make impactful gifts of both their time and money. We hope you enjoy this episode.
Welcome to the Heart of Giving podcast, powered by bbbgive.org. Give.org is the nation's standards-based charity evaluator, and it's your one-stop source for information on giving and reports on the most asked about charities. I'm Art Taylor, your host. We continue to turn our attention to what's going on in the Ukraine. When the war started now over a year ago, we saw an outpouring of support from American philanthropic institutions, companies, and most importantly, American citizens to support the efforts underway to help people who are affected by the war in the region. And I know our website got an enormous amount of attention during that time because people wanted to know where they could go to support charities that were doing important work in the region at the time and who could actually deliver aid and other needed support to people who were escaping from the war in the Ukraine or being forced to move from their homes to other places. We decided that we would try to stay in tune with what was going on there. And over the last year or so, we've had other individuals speak to us about the situation, including some charity leaders, individuals who are parts of large international relief organizations who are assisting in the area. And we were also able to speak with an advocate for the Ukraine who gave us some insight as to what might need to happen if we're going to deliver the kind of support that people need. That was with former Ukrainian finance minister, Natalie Jaresko. And I commend that podcast to you, as well as the ones we've done with other international organization leaders. Today, however, we're going to introduce to you someone who is actually a Ukrainian citizen. She's lived and worked in the Ukraine all of her life. She is currently the co-founder and director of the charity monitoring organization in the Ukraine called Charity Turner. She also worked in the journalism field prior to that, and she's also a CSR specialist and media trainer. But we wanted to reach out to her because of her status as a monitoring organization leader. Just like give.org, which is tasked with identifying the most trustworthy charities in the United States for people to give to, we have partner organizations, separate of course, but partner organizations like Charity Turner in the Ukraine and a host of others around the world that are doing monitoring work to help people in those countries understand what's going on with the charity scene. But today we have Kateryna Zhuk. We call her Katya, and Katya is going to speak to us about what she's seeing, what charities there are ones, and how we go about determining how we can support them. Because I know Americans are still very concerned about what's going on there and still want to provide some of their philanthropic dollars to help that situation. So, Kateryna, we are thrilled to have you. And I should add, we've commissioned Kateryna to begin doing blogs every other week. And you'll be able to read her blog on give.org, which will provide insight to you from a bird's eye view. Now, Kateryna is not living currently in the Ukraine, and we're going to hear that story. She's living in Poland, in Warsaw right now. But you're going to find out that she has a bird's eye view on the situation in the Ukraine and what the needs and aspirations are for philanthropic groups that are trying to help people on the ground. This will be part one of our interview with Katya, and part two will be coming up the following week. I hope you'll listen in for that as well. So, Kateryna, welcome to the Heart of Giving podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Now, I'll just say up front that English is not Kateryna's first language. She speaks Russian as her first language. And so you're going to have to be a little patient at moments. We're going to have to repeat some things just to make sure we get it clear. But I thought it was so important that give.org be in a position to share with you the insights of someone who is there in the area and who can tell us what the needs and aspirations are. So, Kateryna, again, I want to welcome you. And I want to just start by asking you to tell us your story as it happens. Your story is not very different than many people who lived in Ukraine when the war began and now find themselves in the region. Now you're in Poland. But at what point did you have to leave home to get to Poland?
We leave Kiev in March a year ago with my husband and was with my 3 kids. Although that was, we lived not far from Bucha in Gostomel. It's near 10 or 15 minutes near our homes. And then that was times, the first days of March, when Kiev started surrounded by Russian corps at that time. So all my friends started to tell me, "Hey, Katya, you should go. You should go. Hey, come on, you should go. You have 3 kids. You should go. We don't know what it would be after some days." We really didn't know, and we are some scared because we heard all the things that was near us, and only when we was in Warsaw, at the end of March, this was yesterday or 2 days ago. That was really sad anniversary of
The invasion.
You remember, all world remember this date. That's last days of March when Ukrainians came to these little villages, little cities, satellite cities near Kiev. It was horrible. So really, we heard it all, and we goes by evacuation bus with some other refugees. Because I have my car, but without any gas.
Yeah.
So my car, stay near my home some weeks, and then volunteers came and get my car for and drive until July. So there was some telephone numbers, and I called to synagogue, one of the Jewish community in Kiev, and asked them about help with evacuation for my family. And they told me that they go now only to Moldova, not to Poland, but to Moldova. And I told, okay, that's no reason. I go to nowhere, It goes to nowhere. I don't know where to live, what to do, what to eat, how to work, and I don't know anything. I understand only that after 2 or 3 days, my kids will be as far as possible from home. So that was in our minds. And after today, that was 7th of March, and 9th of March, we start to go to Moldova, and it goes 10 hours. In the peaceful life, that was 3.5 hours from Kiev to border with Moldova. That's not far, but we go 10 hours because there was a lot of Russian corps in Then after border, we go to place in nowhere, still in nowhere. That was my first time in Moldova, and we goes to, I don't know, that was a place for Ukrainian refugees in the border with Romania and Moldova. So we go to Moldova. So from Kiev to this place in Moldova, there was 20 hours of our trip by bus with another people, and staying on the border.
For something that would normally have taken 3 hours.
Yeah, normally it's 3 hours, 3.5 hours from Kiev to border with Moldova. That's not far. Yeah, and but we go to 20 hours to this some center for refugees in Moldova, and I started to search some place in Chisinau for family to rent, maybe some flat apartment for one day or some day, because I understood at that moment that we can stay in this summer camp. That was really summer camp in the in winter. It's really cold without kitchen, without stores. This was problem for us. This problem for family with little kid, because my Bronca had this time 1 year and 11 months. So yeah, she had to do 2 years birthday in Warsaw. So, yeah. And my friend from Holland, he helped us. He find a place because there's no any internet. That's only messenger with some words by some minutes. That's really problematical story. So he find for us place for 3 nights, one room, little apartment, and then I started to search some ways how to get Warsaw. So I don't know what it was, and I don't know what was in my mind. Really, that's for every refugee. I know after this year and work with refugee also, I understand that it's not about maybe it's not about logical some issues. That's about emotions. I understood that I want to go to Warsaw in the place and not far from Ukraine. Place with opportunities. And at first was opportunities to help other Ukrainians. So that was in my mind. That was in habitation it named. I think that you're every day, every month, many years, you help someone, and even when something change in your life, you want to do the same. That's your life. You'll live it. Yeah. So it's fun. So we started to go to Warsaw, and my colleague from ICFO, Anna, helped me a lot. Found for us a place, apartment in Warsaw, place to stay, and then we started to search some apartment for rent, of course. Yeah, and we really have searched it more than 3 months, but now I'm here. Yeah. So at April, my older daughter goes to the sixth class in Polish school. My kids now in kindergarten.
Hmm.
My younger kids, my son and my daughter, in kindergarten, and they speak Polish. Their kids speak Polish. It's really interesting because I don't speak Polish.
Mm.
I understand, but I don't speak Polish. That's hard.
Oh, wow.
But understand 99% I understand, but I can't start to speak. That's some block. So we are here, and from after some weeks, we started to go out from apartment to something far. There's one or two streets, yeah, to understand where we are and what to do, because we was something disappointed. Something we was
Yeah.
disappointed, disoriented. Didn't understand what to do and how to live. And everyday news. This was horrible. This was horrible months. And then I found a job in Warsaw as relocation officer in a Jewish community. So I worked there 4 months and worked with also with refugees, the same as me, with people, yeah, the same people. So we understood each other, yeah, and we talk a lot about
Yeah.
their plans. And as relocation officer, I help them to go to another country, or maybe to stay in Poland. That was the people in the same situation. They was still disoriented, yeah. And but partly that was a new experience for me. Part of them was from Mariupol, from Crimea, from Kharkiv. The people without home because of bombs and because of Russian attacks.
Mm.
So people, yeah, yeah. So there was time that they tried to understand not even how to be how to breathe after all. That's the first what where we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's horrible.
Well, let me shift a little bit. This is a incredible story, and I listen to you talk, and I say, wow, you had to go through that, but you're one of probably a million people who've had to go through something similar, given the number of refugees that we've seen over the last year or so leaving the Ukraine. I'm not sure what the exact figures are, but I know it's last I heard it was over a million people that had to leave the Ukraine and head to a surrounding country. Do you know what the exact stats are on that?
Oh, a lot. That was from first days of war,
Yeah.
from early morning, 24 of February, a year ago. Started,
Yeah.
I know, thousands people started to go to Poland and staying on border. So
Hmm.
I have friends that
Yeah.
staying on border 2 or 3 days. Days.
Mm.
So, when a community proposed us to go not to Poland but to Moldova, at first I thought, okay, it would be faster. That's my first, that was the first. It would be faster because
Yeah.
my really close friend with a little kid, she stayed 2 or 3 days at the border. So, yeah, it's
Hmm.
many thousands of people, and
Yeah.
we go out from home and the middle of the day, 24 of February, and the first that we saw horrible traffic, horrible traffic that goes out of the city. So, that's, yeah, a lot of people, and
Hmm.
they here still a lot of people more than in other countries, because it's the Polish
Hmm.
language is mostly similar with Ukraine and Russian language, with both these languages. So we're starting to understand the Polish language much faster than another languages in the European Union. And a lot of people in Ukraine don't know English, English language. So that's, yeah, yeah, what you can do without any languages. Yeah. That's the first, and the
Hmm.
second. Poland always was, really close to us mentality, and some region in Ukraine partly talk on Polish language. So I knew before in Kiev, not something far from Poland, from border. Even in Kiev, I knew before I goes to Poland, I
Yeah.
knew some words in Polish. So that's we are really close, and yeah, that's the reason that people started to go at first to Poland,
Yeah.
because we are, yeah.
Well, listen, we're into this pretty deep. We're going to probably have to end it here, but I wanted to give our listeners just a sense of what you've gone through and some ideas about what you're doing professionally with your organization to help people identify charities that aren't scamming them, charities that are doing good work, and also to appreciate the needs that are going on now, which you lay out as being housing, number one, and secondly, emotional support, that being to help deal with the trauma that you've all experienced. And in that, we've also found out that you see the situation as there being Ukrainians are separated. You have those who are living inside of Ukraine who may not see the trauma that they're experiencing, but they are nonetheless. And those outside of the Ukraine having different needs. So this has been very helpful, very enlightening. And we'll do these two episodes. We'll do these as separate episodes. We'll divide these up so that people can absorb how you've answered these questions in two bites rather than one straight episode, to give them the time to go through it a couple of times if they need to appreciate what you said. And again, I want to just highlight for everyone that Katya will be doing a blog for us that you can see on give.org. It'll be starting soon, and she'll be posting every 2 weeks to give us some insights into what's happening there and the charity scene in particular, and the needs of the people that we can help with here in the United States and other places where you're listening to this podcast. So, Katya, thank you for joining us today. And obviously, there'll be much more to come through your blogs. And for all of those who are listening for the first time, I want to thank you for tuning in to the Heart of Giving podcast. And I hope that you will be a subscriber. Subscriptions are really important because the way the podcast algorithms work is that the more subscribers you have, the more people who are likely to discover that the podcast exists. And we've had such amazing guests on this show over the last year and a half, 2 years and a half now, 2.5 years we've been doing this, that I just hope that more and more people get to know about it. And the way that happens is by you to go on your favorite podcast platform, whether that's Apple, Spotify, Google Play, or Podbean for that matter, and just like the podcast, like the show, and you'll be a subscriber and you'll get all of the new editions as they come out each week. This is a weekly show every Tuesday. Well, and if you want to support the podcast financially, you can do so by going to give.org and making a donation there. And I hope you'll follow Katya's blog. It's really important for all of us here in the United States and other places who want to support Ukraine to understand what's going on in the charity space, because those organizations are filling the gaps. They are attempting to reach the needs of people in ways that we could never even imagine existed. So let's stay on top of that. And that's why I'm so excited to have Katya now join us to provide that insight. So thank you for listening. And we'll see you back here for a new episode next week.
You've just listened to the Heart of Giving podcast with Art Taylor. Be sure to tune in next time for a brand new episode. To listen to our other interviews, visit heartgiving.podbean.com. That's heartgiving.podbean.com. Subscribe to our show on major podcast platforms. The thoughts and opinions expressed on this podcast are the views and opinions of the guests, not those of the BBB Giving Alliance or program affiliates. This podcast is for information and educational purposes only and is copyrighted with all rights reserved. This podcast is protected by Podbean's terms of service.